Welcome to day 8 of the Advent of Animal Rebellion. My name is Lorna Ann.
Hi, I'm Juliana. Our topic today is just transition, and we have invited Geraldine Starke. She is the founder of Refarm'd, a very innovative project that is helping dairy farmers to transition from animal agriculture to produce plant-based milk. We are hoping that she can help us to understand how is she helping farmers to transition while ensuring that this transition is just to everyone.
Hi everyone, hi to the two of you, and thanks for having me.
Geraldine, can you tell us how Refarm'd works and where the idea came from?
Yeah, so Refarm'd was born now almost 2 years ago. I've been vegan myself for now over 10 years, and during these 10 years, I've worked on different vegan businesses, startups, also creating a vegan village in Portugal. So I tried different things because really wanted to be more involved in this community and do something, more towards my values. And I also always had in the back of my mind that I wanted to make an animal sanctuary, to have my own animal sanctuary, but I was never really happy about the fact that I would need to limit myself to a certain number of animals and finding a land and everything. I really wanted to be able to help more, so I wanted to and also had friends who had sanctuaries but who were struggling because obviously the current model of sanctuaries is a bit, how could I say, delicate. I'm not sure we can say that, but in the sense that they rely on donations, they rely on volunteer work, so it's always very, they need to make it work every month, and when it doesn't work, it's complicated, and in some cases, we don't really know what can happen to the animals. They need to quit the land, or they don't have the money to help them anymore. So it's really a difficult situation. So I wanted to kind of find a new model of sanctuaries where they would be more self-sustainable, where they would not rely on donations and volunteer work, or not only, at least. So I always had that in the back of my mind, and I was also very familiar with, very familiar. I knew about farmers making transitions. So I'm from France, and in France, there's really like a war between farmers and vegans. It's really there because farmers are struggling a lot, and because of how the media show the vegans, they kind of think that the problems come from vegans. So there really is this fight between them. There's no really communication or anything. It's just a fight going on, and it really went bad. There were attacks, and when, for example, vegans were making events, they were coming and disrupting that, or the other way around. When farmers were making events, vegans were coming and disrupting that. And in some cases, there were more and more cases of suicides by farmers and things like that, because they just struggle a lot. And so this doesn't help them, obviously. So in my opinion, veganism is not just about animals, it's also about human animals and being compassionate towards every being. So I could not feel happy about that. Even if I knew what they were making to the animals, I know that they kind of grew into this. They were taught to know that this is normal, to treat the animals that way, to exploit them, to use them. But yeah, that's just how they grew. So it was a kind of a combination of all of that. And someday I just realized, well, farms could be the perfect places for sanctuary because they already have the land, they already have the animals there, they have the people who know how to care for them on a daily basis, which a lot of us don't. So if we just manage to transition all those farms into sanctuaries, that would be perfect. We would not need to allocate more resources, because that's a big problem as well. Is that obviously the dairy or meat industry is using a lot of resources like land and water and food and stuff. So trying to save animals by using more resources is not great. So a way to not use more resources, and also to not need to split the herds to try to find homes. And in many cases it's not possible, because sanctuaries are just, they have already too many animals to care for. So when a farmer, even if a farmer wants to do something else and move his animals, for example, in lots of cases he doesn't know what to do with them, and lots of sanctuaries cannot take them. So in some cases they have to be split, so the herd that was living together for years has to be split, or in some cases they just don't find, so the last animals end up to slaughter. So by transitioning them directly, it would allow obviously for the animals to stay there and to end up their lives correctly, like in a good way from old age and not being exploited anymore. And for the farmers, this means they can still keep their farm, keep the animals, keep being a farmer basically, but just obviously changing things how they do it. So it's also a security for them, because for lots of farmers there is not really a solution out, because it's really difficult to just quit something you have in the family for generation over generations and just to do something else, or you have a lot of debts and everything from that. So yeah, it was a way to combine all of that.
Can I just ask, obviously, primarily they're producing animal or plant-based milks. What kinds of milks do they go for? Is it a variety, or is it generally the same kind of plant-based milk?
Yeah, so our aim is to work with all the farmers in the world, to transition them all. That's a little goal we have. So no, but the idea, I mean, is that we want to be international. We want to work with any farmers that ask for help. So our process is that when a farmer has interest, in working with us, we first do market research. We first, depending on where the farm is, we find out what grows there, because we are only have the farmers do local products, so local first plant-based milk with local ingredients, and we only sell locally to customers around the farm. So this is very important for us, that it's also organic, local, and we keep the product very fresh. It's not something that goes through a really heavy process like the plant-based milk you can find in stores, because it's the farmers doing them, like still handmade in a small room, not a factory place. So for us, it's important that the ingredients are local. So depending on where the farmers are or the farm is, it will be a different ingredient and therefore different plant-based milk. So we just started now with Europe and with UK and Switzerland, and there what grows, what is nice to use for milk, plant-based milk, and that people also are requesting more is oats. So that's why we started with oat milk. But depending on the farm, it can be anything, any other types of milk. And even with the farmers, we are already starting, for example, we're now with oat milk. The idea over the time is to add more types of plant-based milk and then other types of plant-based products like cheeses and yogurts and all that.
So Geraldine, when we refer to just transition in agriculture, we're talking about moving away from practices that are damaging to the environment and also unjust to animals and even the workers involved, to other practices that are more compatible with addressing climate change and animal justice and social justice. But the challenging thing here, as you were saying as well, is convincing the farmers that they are going to get a benefit from transitioning. How are you addressing this issue and making it clear to them that there is a benefit there for them? And what's the benefit? What do you think is the benefit for them?
Yeah, so initially that's the questions I had in my mind, like how I'm going to convince farmers, that's going to be the hardest part. And my idea was, yes, you need to first convince farmers and then make them transition. But as I was moving on so the first year after I created or started thinking about Refarm, the first things I did was to talk a lot with farmers, ex-farmers that already transitions, or people working in this industry to really see if it even makes sense, to have such a project, because I'm not from the farming industry. I'm more there, to provide a business idea and help them in this transition. I'm not there to provide them with any farming advice. That's not our goal. So the first thought was that as well. But the more I was getting into it, the more I realized it's not actually going to happen like this. It's going to be the other way around. And because at first, when I tried to just get in touch with farmers, just to present the ideas and hear about them, it was really hard, obviously, because as a vegan, not from the farming industry, obviously they're not really sincere with you and not really trusting, which is also understandable. So I had to kind of change my strategy. I thought, okay, let's do it the other way around. Let's try first to convince a lot of people, where in this case, in the beginning of our project, obviously it might be more vegans that would be willing, to support us, because they see that it helps from transition. So our strategy was to get first vegan involved. So we had like a form on our website, and we contact a lot of people. just so that they can show an interest. It was not about buying anything or paying anything. It was just showing interest. Yes, if a farmer next to me changes to plant milk, I would be willing to buy. And we wanted to that because we also didn't know where to start, in which country or anything. So we kind of make it global, and we thought, okay, let's see where interested and where the most interest we have from vegans, there we will start, because then we will have kind of data showing there is interest. And with this data, we can go to farmers and tell them, look, and you're around you, we have so many people interested. If we transition you now, you have enough customers, to more approach them on the business side of things. But even that changed, because when we kind of get started, we got contacted by a lot of farmers actually. And that's our strategy now. We don't have any strategy talking to farmers. It's farmers coming to us, because we truly believe there is no reason, no point in trying to get to convince farmers who are happy about what they're doing. It doesn't make sense. We're losing our time, they're losing their time, and it's just not going to work. And they're going to have really high expectations, and it's just going to, we are not experts here, so we really need more people who are willing to do this, and who will not stop after 1 month because in the end they change their mind or something. So we did it differently, because we got contacted by farmers who heard about us. We had some media coverage last January, or it was a bit before as well, before we even started working actively with a farm. So we just, with the ideas, farmers got to hear about it and started. It was either people that already kind of transitioned, they already made the move to a sanctuary, but had no viable business model. So they were struggling to know how they can evolve. So for them, obviously, they were already a sanctuary. So it was easy for them to see the interest here and the thing, or others who had already thought about it, and were actively more pursuing it. So, and that's actually how we started. We started with 2 farmers that were already sanctuaries, and that was amazing for us to start like this, because we didn't need to work on this part, on trying to make it understandable to them how they need to do that, or to really help them change to a sanctuary, like more with animals and how to do everything, because we are still learning on that as well. So for us, it was perfect to kind of, just test the business model. And with that, then after you transition a few farms, it's much easier, because we talked a lot with farmers, other farmers who are interested, but kind of still waiting to see that it works before they get involved. And that's totally normal. So having the opportunity to work with farmers already transitioned made it much easier to start, to have a place to start. It might be that we would not have started so quickly if we didn't have that. And now, because we started them, and we now have started our 3rd farm, and the 3rd farm was not a sanctuary. It transitioned last 2 months ago, from milk to plant. So now we have a bit more, experience and more things to show, and we can show more numbers and how it worked for them, and footage and everything. And we have a waiting list of farmers that contacted us to change. For now, we are kind of freezing stuff, because we really want to make sure these 3 farms work well before we continue with others, so that we have a strong model here. But we have a lot of farmers wanting, and it's crazy how many farmers want to get out of this, and just have another model. So now, it's really how we're doing. And we actually, in the first year when I was talking with a lot of farmers, I also was talking with someone from Switzerland. She's called Sarah Heiligstag from Hofnar in Switzerland. She's helping farmers herself since a few years. She's helping them move usually to a sanctuary, or to plant-based agriculture. She's helping them in the first steps, basically. And I had a first chat with her to present her the project, and she was thrilled about it, because she was like, I'm helping farmers since a few years, but there's no one really getting involved in the business side of it. Help. Everybody says, yeah, we need to make farmers change, but no one is really providing, a concrete business model solution. So she was really happy about that, and that's how we collaborated together. And she, when I talked with her, she told me she has between 5 to 7 farmers contact her every week to change. It's huge, and this is just in Switzerland and Germany. She's really just working with and France sometimes, and that's how we actually started. She started redirecting farmers she was in touch with to us. So every time now that she's working with farmers, she proposed them different solutions, plant-based agriculture, or a sanctuary and getting, sponsors and things like that. And she always proposes our solution as well. And for those who are interested, then she redirects them to them. So that also helped. But just talking with her, I understood there's also a really a need from farmers there, and they just need to know about it. And yeah, and it didn't need long before we got a lot of requests from farmers, although we were not ready even to get them transitioned. So yeah, we are really not convincing farmers. And for those who are interested and come to us, obviously they still need some kind of, not convincing, but we need to have a good model to show them. So we really explain them how we're doing is also that we do a lot. We're not just transition them like this. Before we transition them, we do a research and market research and everything to even see if there is potential in their locality, because it might be that in their locality nobody has interest, in plant-based milk or something, or there's not enough people interested. So in this case, we would take it slow and first really find out. We try to make some market research actually to see if there are interested people. We analyze to see what kind of product we could make, and we do all that, and we even start launching pre-orders where people pay to pre-order before we even transition the farm. So it's kind of a guarantee. They have no risks basically. And we also work with a 3-month trial periods. The farmer can just try it out for 3 months, and if he's not convinced by the end of the 3 months, he can just stop and go back. Obviously, that's not something we want, so we're going to do everything that we need not to, but it's to give them this kind of, freedom. They really need that. Farmers really need to keep control, to have this kind of freedom to not be, because that's how it is right now with animal farmers. They don't have a say in anything. They don't even know where the milk is going or where it's going to be transformed. They don't have a say of the price of the milk. So they're really under the power of bigger institutions and companies. So when they want to get out, they really want to get out and not just have another company above them, and putting all the rules. So we're really working with farmers. They're helping us define prices, the price for the milk, the recipe, making trials, and they give ideas for the logistic, because we're handling all around it, logistic, marketing, recipe, training, and everything. So we are always, getting their input and having them really involved, and they want it. And also because we are no experts, so we are learning on the way.
So what did you learn so far from working with farmers? And what do you think are currently the biggest difficulties that farmers have when they want to transition?
Yeah, we're definitely learning every day, and still so much. We didn't expect it to be so difficult, not just from the farmer side, but in all, because we're handling so many aspects, with the logistic, the recipe, the marketing, and try at the same time trying to keep it local, and organic and natural products. So this puts a lot of it's just much more complicated than just having a company doing a product and selling it around the world. We really need to make it work with farmers and everything. So we are still learning, that's for sure. And with the farmers, we are learning from them as well a lot. They kind of have, what we realize, they kind of have high expectations still. I think because they put all their all their trust and everything in us, and they also they have a lot of peer pressure, and family pressure, and just in general in the environment they're coming from. In some cases, we have one farm who is a dairy farm since before, I don't remember the date, over 200 years ago. So they're farmers over 200, and he changed that, so it was a big step that he made. And when you do that, I think you really want to kind of prove it works and it's good, because you just have all this peer pressure around you that they're really looking at you, waiting to make the wrong step. So they have high expectation towards us, as well, because they want it to work well, to have a great product that people will love, so they can be proud of it, have great machines that work, and have enough customers to make it work, that they can have enough income and stuff like that. So it's definitely pushing us forward much faster than we would have. We are still a small team, growing every month, and trying to make it work with our little resources and real knowledge. We are no experts here. So yeah, the team is amazing, and we are making giant steps every day. We are moving forward so quickly because of that, because we obviously want to provide them with something good, because again, they made this transition and are relying on us for a lot. So that kind of put a lot of pressure, and we are trying to really raise the level as we go from what we're providing and the quality and everything. But we also, for the first farmers, we made a specific contract where we made it clear to them that there are pilot farms basically, and that there will be lots of errors and trials, and they should not expect something perfect. So most of them are know about it, so that's why they also help us. We kind of help each other, but still they still have high expectations. So that was not easy to handle, but for them, again, it's really difficult. It's more difficult, this kind of peer environment and the people around them, and it's also kind of stressful for them to really know, to get into a future they don't know really about, and that not much people have done before. That's also the problem. They're kind of pioneers in that. So and to trust in a little startup with a little few people trying to make it with no experience in farming is a big step as well. It's a big leap of faith there. So we're just trying to make it work on a daily basis to keep them happy, and to really listen to them, and to make improvements there, and to work with them. I think, but we didn't have much big problems apart, obviously their expectation. That's a lot of talking, a lot of trying to. We are learning that as well. We need much more communication, because obviously they don't know what we're doing, behind the scenes. So it's important to share it with them, because then they also understand what we are doing, and how it's not easy as well, and why we are taking different strategies. It's also sometimes difficult for them, because as I was saying before, they were not really having any power before as a milk company or anything, but they still were kind of handling their own business, on the farm. Here it's kind of mixed, like we are doing a strategy, we are deciding kind of with the logistic, because we are handling it, and the recipes and everything. So sometimes they don't really understand strategies we decide, and they want to change it, because they kind of want to take, they're afraid of losing control, I think, in some sense. But it's all working better, and now that we launched the third farm. So the third farm is producing the first batch today that will be delivered tomorrow. So we're launching them this week. We were supposed to launch them last week, but we had problems with the machines. So after we do that, we really want to focus to take time to make them really work better, to really make sure everything that is problematic works better, to really go over all details with them. Because for now it's really been a brutal run. You're like, every day you need to get it done, so you're making the priorities only, and you're leaving aside other stuff because you need to move forward, and we are a small team again. So now that we have launched the third farm, we're going to take like the December really to slow down a bit, and to really make all those things we have done until now better, and to communicate better with them, and to see where we can improve, and try to get them more customers, to really reach a point where it's really interesting for them, so that we can think about transitioning other farms next year.
Okay, so in Ireland, as you probably already know, agriculture is a very important economic sector. The livelihoods of many Irish families depend on the production of both dairy and beef. So for this reason, Animal Rebellion Ireland find that it's really important to work alongside farmers to ensure that they are not left behind in the necessary transition to a plant-based food system. However, we've experienced some pushback regarding our solidarity with farmers, and we were wondering if you've experienced similar pushback, and if so, how did you respond? How did you deal with it? And also, why do you think a just transition is so important?
So for now, I must say we're quite lucky. We didn't get that much. In the very beginning, when we were exposing the project, talking about it, we had a few, but very little, that were saying, "Oh, never in my life would I support farmers," so it's not the way to do, or something. So we didn't have much more than that. Most of people are really, really amazed by farmers transitioning, and want to support them in any way, and therefore support us as well. And we have for now really great feedback. We're really grateful for that, for the community behind this is really amazing. But what I was saying in general is that we are all people in the end, and like I was saying, we need compassion for everything. Veganism is not about hating humans and only loving animals. Is a whole together, and as I really believe farmers are not bad people who like to hurt animals. Most of them really love the animals. They just, for them, it's just normal how they're doing. They grew up doing that. If you grew up in an environment that normalizes using animals, milking them, sending them to slaughter. Even if you cry when they go to slaughter, it's normal. You have to do it. It's a business. You have to pay for your rent and your food at the end of the month. So you don't even have time to really think about it, because it's just a family business that you just grew up in, and then you take over and you just have to make a business run, and you have so many debts and everything that, like most people, they don't have time to step back and have a look on their life and just think a lot about it and change. And so obviously when they hear about vegans against that, they really don't understand, because they think we attack them directly or their business. But in the end, what we really are against is the animal exploitation, not them and what they're doing. And also what I think is really important to answer to that, in our case, what people have to understand, for example, is that when one farm is transitioned, this means that we are, I don't know if it's an expression in English, but we are cutting the valves for this farm. We are like stopping exploitation on this farm. This means if we would not have done that, next year they would have brought to life much more and more calves, and the year after. So we cannot just, have more sanctuaries to save more animals if they continue bringing more animals to this earth. Is not going to work out. And some farmers even take this opportunity now and oh, who wants the chickens, so we don't bring them to slaughter, or the calves, but still continue producing. It just doesn't work like that. We need a solution that stops. So every farm that we are shifting stops. That's when they're working with us, they it's not like they can continue to do that and then a little bit of that or something. No, they have to stop entirely. So this means one farm that will bring less calves in this case next years and over the years, and that's a lot of animals. So just one farm is a lot of less animals brought into life on this planet. And so every farm that we're doing so it's a direct impact on animal exploitation, and that was really important for us, not just to have them do a product, because Refarm is not about plant-based milk. That's just a means to our end. It's just a product to get them to transition. What we really focus on is helping farmers transition for multiple reasons, because obviously for us the main reason is for the animals. We do that for the animals. So it's the quickest way, in our opinion, or one of the quickest way to go towards the stop of animal exploitation, and to make it so therefore better for the animals, but also for the environment, because as you know, animal farming is highly destructive to the planet. So that's also something we are having indirect impact on. And on the long term, we also want to help them optimize the farm, to change the farm, to make it more sustainable and with green energies, but also with reforestation and all this kind of different projects. We are at the beginning, so we're not there yet. But just the fact that even if they still have animals, because in our model we ask them to transition, but we ask them to keep the animals. Not just to say, okay, the last ones we send to slaughter. We could do that, like some do. It might be much easier, but because then they don't have to pay for these animals over the years. But for us, it's really important to make the farmers, but not just farmers, but people around, understand that every animal is important, is a person. And so it's not, you would not say that about humans, okay, the last one we can just slaughter, it's okay, it's going to be less fees. No, it's important, they're a person. So it's really important for us that they keep it, so that we can show other farmers and other people in general that they are important. And we also do believe, so we are not asking farmers to become vegan, for example. Obviously we are guiding them towards that, but we really hope that when they make the transition, they kind of have this it takes a weight from their shoulder to having to see the animals of value, financial value, or food, or anything, because they needed them to survive. If you don't have any, you don't need to put any more expectation on these animals. They are not bringing you anything anymore. You don't need them to do anything, to produce anything. It really changes the way you see them, but you still have to care for them every day. So you cannot just like ignore them. You have to care for them. And I truly believe it changes the way the farmer will really connect. He will really connect on a deeper level to these animals, like he was not allowing before. Lots of farmers tell us that they were not like, not intentionally, but not allowing themselves to really go too deep into connection with animals because they could not, bear, be happy with, continuing what they're doing. So we like, by taking this weight away, we just allow them to connect truly to other animals. And when that happens, there's no going back. They really see it, and they want to help other farmers, and they want to make speeches so that everybody knows about it. And it's just, it's just beautiful. So that's why it's so important to help farmers. It helps the animals, it helps the environment, it helps. There is no better, I always say this, but there's no better, not person, but person for our movement to talk about our movement than farmers who have transitions, because they were in the system, they did it, they know how it was, and they make the change. So this means nobody can tell them otherwise. Other farmers cannot tell them, no, you don't know how it is really farming. They do, they did it, Or like we have a lot of people, where we read that a lot, that people say, oh, I don't care really how it happens, because what's important for me is to support our farmers, so that's why I'm buying meat and cheese. But in fact, they're not helping at all farmers. If they really want to support farmers, they should help them get out of the dairy or meat industry, because farmers in the dairy and meat industry are struggling, except maybe the big corporations, but that's not most farmers. The small ones, the medium scale ones, are struggling all the time. They're even selling for less than production costs. It's crazy, and it's a really hard job, and not getting anything in return, a lot of debt, and lots of hate from people. So it really is difficult. So yeah, if people want to help them, they need to help them this way. And when you buy your cheese or your milk from the supermarket, you're not helping the farmer who produced it. The farmer doesn't even know where his milk goes. It just putting money in the pockets from the big industries, and that exploit these farmers on the other way around. So yeah, that's, for me, that's really clear, that why we need to help farmers transition.
It really is just like working in the root of the problem when you work with a farmer, I think. One of the things that we really like, or we think that is really important about Refarm'd, is that you're working with the farmers from the very beginning through the whole process. For instance, it was like watching one of your interviews that I realized, I learned that farmers are not used to work with old animals, sick animals maybe, and you just said it there, you are learning with them, but also training them. I correct me if I'm wrong, that's my understanding. Could you tell us a bit more about this training that you're giving them, this help in order to learn how to work with this kind of animals? And also, in general, what other changes have to be done in a farm in order to transition to a sanctuary?
So we're not training them directly on how to care for animals yet, because we don't have this knowledge. But what we are doing, we are working with vegan vets that we have all around the world, that are supporting us, that are like a direct connection with the farmers to answer to the question and help them make this transition. Because like you said yourself, farmers don't have like, for example, cows. They obviously never, most of the time they don't keep animals obviously over 5-6 years old. So all the health problems that come, that we can see in farm and sanctuary animals, they don't have to handle. Or if they have a problem, when they call a normal vet, if I can say so, or farm vet, if it's just a too complicated process to heal them, or too expensive, they don't think about it twice. It's just not interesting, obviously, to pay too much for it, because it's a business. Obviously, they have to make meet sense. So if a cow breaks a leg, or something a bit more difficult, they just say, oh, we tried everything, there's nothing that can be done with it, so they just send them to slaughter or put them down, and when they're lucky. But obviously that's not what a sanctuary do. A sanctuary, because they don't have this business tied to the animals, and also because they really want just the animals to have the best life they can, they will really try to help them as much as they can, even if it costs a lot. or takes time to heal, or takes infrastructure to heal. So that's something where those farmers would need some help, and they cannot really rely on normal vets, if I can say so. So we are trying to build up like kind of a community of vegan vets, because they will see the interest of the animals, not like this farming vets, and helping them. And some obviously have knowledge with farming animals. That's really important. And we kind of put them in connection with this farmer, so that the farmers can always have these vets to help them. We hope to have enough of this kind of vets in each country, so that they can also come on site, and help them directly. For now, it's not the case. We're still starting. And as I mentioned, for now, the two first farms, we had already sanctuaries since several years, so they don't really need our help on that. But we still provide them with this resource, basically, to help them. And also, as you mentioned, when a farm, what is important when a dairy farm, for example, transitions, they cannot just stop, milking the cows from one day to the other. It has to be a transition, or it will be hurtful for the cows. So they also don't really know necessarily how to do that. And at the same time, for example, keeping the calves, that the newborn calves they want to keep, because now they don't want obviously to separate them anymore. In most cases, when you start working with a farm, they still have pregnant cows, because they just impregnate them every year. So there's always new calves to come. But this one will stay, but a mother cow produces too much for one calf, so it's not enough to just let the calves with the mother cow. So there is where these vets can help them with just to know the process of how they can gently transition them to not producing milk, or just enough for their cows. And it works. That's what our the second farm in Switzerland did. They were still milking until end of September, I think. And they slowly reduced over the summer the milking quantity they were milking. And then they started to having more calves. So they put, in some cases, they put 2 calves or 3 calves on the one of the cows to relieve her. And slowly, and by changing the food as well. So that's something important I didn't mention, is that obviously when they're milk or meat farm, the animals are fed and held in a way for them to produce more. They're fed grains and other things like that, to make them just produce more in meat, to have more meat, basically more quality meat. And for milk, by eating grains and other things like that and supplements, they just produce more milk. When they transition, they go back to grass, only grass and hay. That's what cows are supposed to eat. So first of all, for the farmers, it means that 30% less cost, because that is on the main, one of the main costs they have is animal feed. It's really expensive, and in most cases it comes from afar and everything. So that's also a big environmental problem here. So by reducing that, it's much less cost for them. For the animals, it's much better. They're healthier. They're really not. One of our farmers mentioned that in one of the interviews he gave for Swiss TV, that he says that when cows are milked, they're kind of like high runners, or high, people that do marathons, high sports people. They're really their body is working like if they were constantly doing high intensive sports, because that's what we are expecting from them. And he could see it on the animals when they, for example, stopped milking, or where they got a new baby. They need help from vets and everything to make it work, because they're just so exhausted. And that's why they don't last long. That's why in most cases of 5-6 years they just can't, while a cow can live 20-25 years. So by removing this feed, it also the health of the cow is also improved, and they're more in their natural state, if I can. They're not like producing so much milk anymore. So this is also a way to reduce milk production, is to change them again to grass and hay, to go back to more natural ways for them. So there are different ways to do that, but that's one of the ways. And for all farmers, that's what we do. They all get back to grass and hay. So yeah, again, as I mentioned, it's better for multiple reasons.
There's a popular quote by Naomi Klein that says, "In order to change everything, it takes everyone." What role do consumers play in this transition, and how can people help out in supporting your project?
Yeah, so consumers are the most important. If we don't have them, we don't have anything. We cannot have farmers. We cannot have our company that runs and try to make change. We don't have anything. So that's why we're also focusing in the beginning to really first get known by people who could be consumers. We do have the difficulty that because we are wanting to sell only locally, we have to do kind of local marketing a lot. We have interest from people around the world, but obviously the person in USA cannot buy the milk from our farmer in UK. And even in UK, people in UK that are a bit too far away cannot get the milk as well. So this has been a bit hard in the beginning because we had a lot of interest from people, but when we started launching one farm, we get a bit struck by reality that but most people that were interested cannot subscribe, because we were trying to initially to get interest from people around the world to just see where there is interest. But in the end, what we need when we transition a farm is to really get interest locally, to really increase the sales locally. So that's what we changed doing, and I was getting better and better, and also working with businesses that's usually now our how we make things work. Our strategy is to first try to get businesses on board, because they will buy much more quantities than an individual person. And this we ask these businesses to also be pickup points for our customers, so when we deliver them for their milk for them as well, we can deliver for other customers, and we can reduce delivery costs this way. So that's where we have now. We are delivering only for now in pickups. We still can't do home deliveries. It's just so expensive. It would not make any sense to have the customer pay more for delivery than for the milk. That's also the problem, is that we're selling a product that is, has a low cost. It's not something like when you buy, I don't know, a computer or something that costs thousands. Here you pay a few pounds for it. So you cannot ask them to pay more, obviously, for delivery. And for now, we also only doing one product, so it's also tricky, because when people can get a box with different products, and then they're okay to pay for delivery a certain amount, but just to deliver one bottle to pay £5 or I don't know what for delivery is not interesting. And because we are doing the logistics ourselves, we still haven't found a way to do that really easily. Initially, we didn't want to do logistics ourselves. We wanted to go with companies to do that, but like with a lot of things, we realized it's actually not possible or difficult, because we are asking the drivers to come back to the farm to drop the empty bottles, because we are reusing the bottles. So the milk is sold in glass bottles that we reuse. And most companies who do deliveries don't do the way back, so they could not, drive back. So it's been a struggle to find, or we found maybe one company, but it was really expensive, so it just didn't make sense. We could not take it all on us or on the farmers, so we had to put it on customers, but it would have been not interesting. So we said, okay, well, let's develop our own delivery system, so that's what we did. Now we have our own drivers, we have our cold trailer, and we make the deliveries with a cold trailer like this. We are still adjusting, because it's still not perfect, but yeah. And the same with the machines, for example, to do the plant-based milk. It doesn't really exist machines to make plant-based milk. It's still new. So usually you have to use something that was meant for something else, for example, for animal milk, or for totally other products. Like we were in the beginning, we were working with machines to do beer, so it has nothing to do with it. But because it just doesn't exist, so you have to try to make it work with something else. So it's not optimized. So we struggled a lot with that as well, with the equipment. It's really complicated, especially on the scale that we are doing. We are doing kind of a small, medium scale. We're not like building big factories. So we have, and this is even more complicated to find when you're looking for professional equipment. It's either, you have the small blender or something for your home, or you have the huge thing for the factories. In the middle, it's just crazy. It's hard to this is something we didn't expect, and it really just made things complicated. So now we are actually building our own machines, because it just doesn't really exist, and it's just not optimized, or it's again too expensive, and doesn't work like we want. So we had to do that as well. So we're on different fronts like this. We are realizing it just have never been done before on multiple levels. So we are needing to make changes there, and to make it work. So this is it's really not easy, and we are learning to that, and we put a lot of pressure on us to trying to make everything, to still keep it local and still keep it organic and fresh and and all that. But yeah, to get back to your question with the customers are really important for us, because yeah, if we don't, if in this trial period we cannot show farmers that we can increase the amount of milk they need to produce and the amount of income therefore they are getting, well, I guess most would just stop, because it is obviously they cannot, they need to do something that brings them enough money to cover the cost for the animals they're keeping. So that's also something important, is that that's something even harder for us, because we are not just trying to get them an income to live. We're trying to get them an income to live and to handle a sanctuary, basically. So it's obviously more cost than if they were just trying to make a living for their own. So it just is more difficult, and at the same time trying to have not too excessive prices, because obviously then we are only working with niche of people, and then we cannot get enough customers. And businesses, for example, they need good prices, because otherwise they will just continue buying the oat milk in the shops, which is more convenient. But people are really excited about that, excited to be able to buy milk that is local, produced locally, and glass bottle, that is done by next farmer, and not just going to your supermarket and to buy your oat milk. So people are really excited about that. We just need to be better at communicating locally, which is not easy, because we're going to be handling different countries, so every time it's a different market, different languages, and we don't even necessarily have all the languages in our team. So yeah, this is something we will see how it develops in the future, but this is really important. It's the most important part is the customer. So for now, if someone wants to support us, so either they're in their delivery range, then of course please subscribe to the Milk Over Farmers. If they're not, obviously there is no really other way to support us for now, except sharing, and if they know people that could get the milk, get the info to them, and just sharing the information about us, because the more we have discussions like this, or interviews, or anything else, the more it gives us opportunities. We get contacted by other people, more local, sometimes media, that help us then reach more local people, or just have different opportunities that help us grow.
Wow, it sounds like there's a lot of work in there. Sounds amazing. We know that you just launched Bradley Nook Farm. Not, it was last week, wasn't it?
It was supposed to be last week. That's what I was saying before. They're making the milk right now as we speak. They're in their kitchen. Well, not in their kitchen, the production room, making the milk. And tomorrow, hopefully this time everything goes well. I'm a bit stressed with the machines. And tomorrow they're going to be doing the first delivery.
Do you have any other potential projects coming in other countries apart from the UK and Switzerland? Do you have any potential projects here in Ireland, for instance?
Yeah, in Ireland, we were contacted by a farmer a few months ago. We didn't really catch back to him so I don't know. It was like the wife from the farmer contacting us. So I think the farmer didn't really know about it. She was trying to see if there's maybe something she can do there. And she was like, okay, I'm going to come back to you when I need help. And in the meantime, we didn't talk again. So it's really just for now, and a slight interest. Maybe her husband was not into it or something. But again, this is kind of the people we want to reach out, obviously, to all of them a bit later when we have more data, that our 3 farms are working well. They can go and visit them. They can see the milk production. We have much more, because before that, the farmers who worked with us kind of needed to trust us on what we're saying. There was nothing else, and even us, we were not sure about what we're doing. It's the first time we're doing that. I'm not, I didn't run I don't know how many businesses behind, so it's all new to them. So yeah, they were just really wanting to do it, so they were ready, especially because you're talking about Bradley Nook Farm, so Jay and Katya Wild. This is funny, because initially I contacted him because he was already a farmer transition. So I just wanted for him, because it was hard for me to talk to normal farmers, if I can say so. They were not really wanting to share stuff, but so farmers that have transitioned but still are farmers, were the best person for me to speak. So they agreed, to have different calls. We had several calls. It's been 2 years now. It's one of the first I have talked with, actually. So I just presented him the product just to see, not for him actually to become a Refarm'd farmer. Didn't even thought about this, just to see, what he thinks. And he thought, yeah, it makes sense, it could work, and blah blah blah. And we had several discussions. And one time, in one of the discussions, he was like, "Oh, we discussed with Katya, and we would like to become your first Refarm'd farm." And I was like, "But you're already a sanctuary, I was like, I didn't even think about it. And he was like, no, I thought also that he had gave up all the animals, to this other sanctuary. I didn't know they had still animals. And this is one of our core values. They need to have animals to make the transition. So he's like, yeah, we have 17 animals. And I'm like, oh, okay. And yeah, because they were, moving to producing plant-based agriculture, but they, over the last 2 years now, it's been almost 3 years that they made the shift. They had a lot of struggles to do that because it's really complicated. Because they're organic, so the rules to transition the soil that was used for animals into human consumption is really complicated. It takes several years to get all the authorization. So, and when we started speaking last year, they still haven't planted anything. It's been over 2 years, so they were not making an income from that anything. So they were looking kind of for other solutions. So that's why they thought, okay, maybe we can do it with you. And I was just thrilled. I was like, what? Oh, that would be amazing, And that's how we started working together. I didn't plan it initially, and that's why I thought, yeah, it would be perfect to start with them because because they are already transitioned, and they're amazing to work with. Really, they're amazing people, so nice, so kind, so supportive, so understanding. We made so many mistakes, and we are such newbies next to them, but yeah, they're just amazing. It has been delayed quite a bit. They had a lot of other stuff to finish. That's why they're now our third farm and not our first farm. But yeah, we're just excited to start with them. And yeah, so we had this other person in Ireland, but yeah, that's not really a lead for now. We have other farmers in the UK. So we have our farmers in Switzerland and potential other farmers in Switzerland. We normally, the next one we would transition is one in France. It's farmers we are in contact with 1 year now, over 1 year now. Then we had contact in Germany. We had in the US, and whereas in Mexico, even in Spain. Yeah, I think if I remember correctly, that's almost, yeah, from a bit all over the world, we're getting requests from farmers. That's really interesting.
Finally, where can people learn more, and where could they find you on social media?
Yeah, so we're on Facebook and on Instagram, and we also have a website. So the website is just refarm'd.com. So Refarm'd without the second E, so REFARMD. So this is the main website where we present our model, and where we also present sorry, the 3 farmers we already have. And then we have an app, which is just app.refarm'd.com. It's not really an app in the sense you don't need to download it. It's just a web app where that customers use to subscribe. So if you go there, you can see a map, you can select you can see if there's a farmer near you, you can select the farmer, then you can select the pickup and make a subscription, because it's, I didn't mention, but it's subscription based. So people get a weekly delivery of the oat milk, so they can subscribe to this web app. We also sell in some of these shops, so they can also buy directly from the shops.
Brilliant. So we're going to share all of those along with this video so everyone can find you nice and easily. So that's kind of the end of our questions. Geraldine, thank you so much for your precious time. You're a busy, busy lady, and we really, really appreciate it. You're after sharing so much interesting. I have such admiration for the work that you do.
Thank you.
I hope this video gets out there and people learn and catch on and want to get involved in it and support this amazing project.
Thank you. Thank you so much for your interest, for helping us share about it, and yeah, for just listening. It was great talking to you. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye, Geraldine.